Hey everybody, Brant here with Nutrition First Coaching, and got Harrison here. He's going to show us some nice efficiency with getting some proteins prepped here, making them tasty.
Yeah, we're just gonna make you like a little meal.
Nice.
What we've got here is some chicken tenderloin. It's the underside of the breast. It's really tender, absorbs flavor great, and it cooks really quick. We got that glass dish that we kind of touched on earlier. This is great because I'm not gonna need to put this chicken in some other vessel to season it and dirty that dish and create more of a mess. We can season right in here.
Nice.
You know?
Anything to keep less mess.
Yeah, exactly. I can't stand cleaning up. You know, I do enough of that at work.
Yeah.
But let's just go over what we're gonna put in it.
Cool.
Well, we're gonna do curry chicken. You know, it's pretty healthy. That curry is gonna impart some really nice flavor, but we're also gonna add some fresh herbs.
Nice.
And that should take it to the next level. We're also gonna be working with the olive oil, salt,
And some pepper.
and some pepper.
Sweet.
Does this sound foreign to you?
No, everything
All right.
everything makes sense so
All
far.
right, good.
Just these guys, I'm not that I'm interested to see how to work them in, how much
Cool.
to use and everything.
So we'll start with the green onion, right? We've got a knife, cutting board, we're all set up. This is a little quick tip. Underneath your cutting board, if you've got one like this, just slap a wet paper towel down. That'll keep it from sliding around, which you don't want. Let's get into it. So we're gonna take off these dirty ends, just put it over here. You know, if you've got a little bowl or somewhere, just get it out of sight, out of mind. And you wanna cut, you know, nice little rings, right? And it's not too hard. You're gonna just hold the knife, right, in your hand. You don't wanna actually hold it like this. I see a lot of people doing this and it's frustrating. You wanna be up on the blade, have control. And we're gonna just slice these nice little rings, right? For this amount of chicken, we're probably gonna do, I don't know, a third of those. So,
I think that's what you were just doing with your fingers, I think is a really interesting
yeah.
technique-wise to
So
keep you from chopping things off.
this is something that was drilled into our head, you know, since I was 16 years old, is keeping your fingers tucked and your thumb back too. And so when you're cutting, you're using this finger to guide, you know, and actually the closer your knife is to your finger and your hand, the less chance you have of cutting yourself. So I'll do it one more time, right? We're just slicing and it's right up against, you can see it almost grazes it and then comes down.
Nice.
But yeah, that's usually pretty uncomfortable for people their first time around. It takes a lot of getting used to, and probably in 20 years I'll have a finger that's permanently bent.
Of course, it'll keep you from being one of my patients.
Yeah,
You cut a
exactly.
tendon. And you
Well,
have to
I
come
got
see
you.
me. Yeah.
Let's see, what are we gonna do next? We're gonna put some parsley in there. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
got some parsley. It's really gonna help build the flavor. You know, it's another herb to complement what else is going into the dish. So what I like to do, they come with these twisty ties on them. And, you know, as long as you've washed all your produce and dried it, just kind of softly, you know, cup it. And you want it to have a good starting point. You don't want too many stragglers because you're trying to keep it as fine as you can. And you're just gonna,
That's what I struggle with. It's everywhere. You know, the like ends are sticking out everywhere.
yeah, and that'll happen. Sometimes you
chopping
can't
it everywhere.
avoid it, you know. But one thing that I've, you know, it's been drilled into my head by chefs, and that I try to pass it on is that, you know, clear space, clear mind. So you don't want too much clutter going on. It'll really overwhelm you if it starts to build up around you, and you'll be like, you're not being efficient at all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, you know, we're gonna put a little bit more of a dice on this, and you're gonna hold, you know, the edge of your blade, and there's this little rounded part right here where you want to do most of the dicing, and that you just run it through there a few times, right? And another thing that I like to do, like if you're cooking often, do all of this at once. You know, this is food prep, so cut all this down and put it in baggies, right? You know, how do you
definitely.
feel about that?
Yeah, I love that. I think
Yeah,
the
that
more
way.
efficient you can be at once, and I tell people prep, you know, 2, 3, 4 times what you need, get things chopped up at once so you're not getting out the cutting board every time and dirtying a knife every time.
Exactly. So we'll go right into the chicken with that, right? And it looks like a lot, but it's no calories, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all free stuff there, free and healthy.
Cilantro, this is great. Some people don't like it, and they say it tastes like soap. They'll avoid it.
Yeah. I'm always surprised how many people like or don't like cilantro too.
It's a genetic
Surprising.
thing, I've heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's just a,
Because it's a ton in salsas and stuff too, and
I actually had
all
a
that stuff.
restaurant owner that he had me take cilantro out of the salsa,
really.
and it was just such a slap in the
Disappointment.
face. Yeah, yeah,
Just
it's like you pay homage to the culture at least. So, but that's interesting.
Everybody's got their own little preferences, right? So
We see a lot of these herbs. This is just a fun fact. We see a lot of these herbs all over. You think cilantro and you think, Mexican food, but it's in Vietnamese food, it's in Thai food. The green onions, they're used virtually by every culture. Parsley, it's just, it's a great flavor amplifier. Let's see. So let's get this in there. Let's get it going. And you don't want to run through them too much, especially with these soft herbs, because when you get the bruising on there, you're actually going to lose flavor.
okay.
And if your cutting board is stained green after it, you might have went a little too hard.
Oh, okay. Starting to pulverize them into nothing, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So here, we've got our chicken, herbs. We're going to go on to the next step. I like to add my oil, or my fat, right? And if you want to measure it, you can.
Yeah.
What do you usually do?
I usually do like a tablespoon
You
for
do a
something
tablespoon?
that size.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So here, we're going to go right in.
You could probably eyeball it pretty good, and
Yeah.
you don't even have to measure stuff.
Go right there. So just maybe a little bit over a tablespoon. And I'm not going to mix it yet because that's going to dirty my hands. Don't be afraid to get your hands in the food. There's a sink right there. We're going to go in with some curry powder.
I always think it's interesting thinking about getting your hands dirty. Like some people just have like texture, feeling issues, and I think it's like, yeah, this helps you get over that too, but also...
I was one of those people.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I did not like having my hands dirty. When I was a kid, I hated having them sticky. It was just...
It's all that sensory processing
Yeah,
part,
exactly.
right? You get over that and then it gets you connected to your food.
For the curry powder I just put in, that's a generous amount, but again, we're talking about that building that crust and the flavor. Next, we're gonna hit it with some pepper, just a little bit, because like we talked about, it's good for you. And I think this day and age, the general palate expects it to be there. Same with salt. So I like to measure my salt on my hand. And let's see, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's probably maybe a teaspoon and a half.
Yeah, a little bit over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go right in. Right?
Yeah, that's a good idea too, because that's where you can get on the salt. You just start doing this and you can't
Yeah.
really see it that well, and then you're like, oh, whoops, that was
Especially
2
if it's
tablespoons.
a fine salt, forget about it. You might oversalt your food.
Yeah, and then you're just like, ugh.
So next step, what I'd like to actually do personally is clean up a little bit. Let's just say I'm cleaning up. I put those away, clear our space. It clears our mind.
I like the idea to have like a little
little
waste bowl.
Yeah,
you put all your
exactly.
stuff and keep it there, because I tend to like put it on the edge of my cutting board, and pretty soon I'm running out of space, and then I'm just like, ah.
Totally. And even you can save some of these clippings for, stocks. If you've got some, let's say you took these off a chicken and you have the bones, don't throw the bones away. Put them in a pot with some water and these clippings, and let it sit for, simmer for 8 hours, and you're gonna have a nice stock for a future meal. All right, so now we're gonna mix this chicken. We're gonna incorporate it, make sure we get everything a nice even coating, and then put it on the baking sheet that we talked about it. I lined it with foil because I don't like messes and I don't like cleanup. I just preheated the oven, and you might be asking yourself, well, aren't you trying to get it in the oven? No, I want this to sit for the duration of that preheat time so we can impart as much flavor as possible. The longer, the better. So
Makes sense. And is there a preference, like cook it at a lower heat for longer or a higher heat, shorter time?
that's a great question. For this type of chicken and this type of, this cut, you see it's small, it's gonna cook quick. So you want to cook it at that high heat, 400 degrees is what I preheated the oven to. And that is because it's going to put that nice color on the outside and finish the middle at the same time.
Okay. I'm a big foil guy too.
Yeah,
Save
absolutely.
on cleanup. And I'd always wonder, like, does foil change the flavor of the food? Is
No.
it not, good for cooking with, or?
The only thing you want to watch out for is, let's say I was going to cook in this dish, which I could, right? That would save us a dish too. Is if you were to put foil over the top. And sometimes if your food touches it, or it's not industrial foil or food grade, you'll get these little holes that start to form in the foil. But you won't get that cooking on it. It's great. It's perfect for, if you're just trying to eliminate messes.
Yeah.
And you can see this chicken, right? It's coated pretty well. And we've got a little excess in there, but hey, at what cost?
Yeah.
And I like to evenly space them because we want to make sure that they cook even. And if there is liquid, which there will be coming out of the chicken, that it has the space to get heated up and evaporate, because you don't want to boil your chicken, you want to roast it.
Well, and something that people ask me a lot too is if they're doing macros and they're weighing and measuring and we're tracking things and we're trying to get really specific on the calories too, is they're like, well, do I weigh my food before I cook it, or do I cook it and then weigh it? I usually tell people just keep it the same all the time. If you weigh it before, then always weigh it before. If you weigh it after, do it after, because you lose a lot of moisture out of it.
You
do.
You're
going to weigh it uncooked, it's going to definitely weigh different than after it's cooked, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. There's water, fat, all kinds of stuff that's going to come out of there. These might be, these are probably about 4 ounces. They might be 2.5 when they come out. So,
Yeah, and I'm a germaphobe too, so I'm like, I don't want to get my scale or whatever I'm weighing in.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Pre-cooked, it's salmonella and all the other things that can grow in there, and so I'm an after-cooked kind of person. But
Totally. That's probably your best bet, to get the actual accurate read of what you're ingesting.
Because the protein's not going to change. The protein content, just the liquid part of the meat is going to change when it cooks and comes out. So, you get that pure amount of protein afterwards is always my kind of thought on it. So
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to step away and put this in the sink.
Okay. Hey, this is Brandon, Nutrition First Coaching. If you'd like more content like this, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and all our other social media outlets at Nutrition First Coaching.